session. Thank you so much for joining. So let's begin with today's session. Uh, Myself, Riddhi Munot, I am your host for the day, and I'll be introducing you to the session. So, firstly, very warm welcome to all the participants for joining the one-day workshop on questionnaire designing. A very effective workshop for all the participants in the field of research and who are planning to get into the field of research. So, very important session for them. Now, before starting with the session, let me just give you a brief about both the organizations who have developed this session to bring it out to you. So Ochre India is a educational events company, and they hold all kinds of educational, organizational events with collaboration to universities, institutions, and at their own personal level. And same goes for their sister concern organization, that's Rankers Coach. So our motive is to bring out the best in the field of research to all the participants. And the third organization is that is Persec. To introduce a little brief, give you a brief about Persec, it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce you all to our session chair or to our resource person for the day, Mr. Jitendra Rajaram Verma. He has been the co-founder of Persec Research and the director of Undercurrent Media Research Foundation for more than 20 years of experience in the field of media, education, and research. As a consultant to NGOs, Mr. Verma is working for UNICEF Madhya Pradesh chapter to coordinate with various state agencies for sensitizing citizens towards cap plus behavior and removing vaccination hesitancy. Mr. Verma has been helping students and researchers on research methodology, data collection, and data analysis since the year 2015. Sir has done immense work when it comes to the field of when he has started his work in the field in his own organization, Persec. Persec acts as a catalyst for the researchers. It is a bridge between the research to its submission, and Persec has been working tremendously when it comes to giving out the best to the researchers. So thank you so much, Jitendra sir, for joining us, and thank you so much for enlightening the students. It is the session is over to you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Riddhi. Thank you for such a warm welcome and such a nice introduction. And hello, everybody. Um, so there are three things I want to request from all of you. I have my chat box on here, and if we can allow everybody to chat, it will be really good. You ask questions the moment you have a question about the subject that we are going to talk today. Um, Voice will not be allowed for a while simply because we all are into different uh, environmental setup and situation, and our voice may echo and may can disturb the whole proceedings. So please write your question immediately, and I will try to answer those questions uh, the right at the moment, right? So rather than waiting for another question Q&A, though there will be Q&A AR session, but that is not what we should hold for. Ask question. I mean, the very purpose we are talking about questionnaire is we are learning the art of question. So start with single questions if you have, or multiple questions we have. In session today, we are going to learn about how to ask a series of questions from the people who we want answers from. Like so. Not everybody can have all the answers, so we have to select who are going to have our answer first, and what are questions we have to pose them in order to get the answers right. So I will share my I will share I will share my screen, and then we'll be on. Reddy, help me if you think that there is something which is missing, maybe the screen or my voice or video or something.
Surely, sir.
Yeah,
You can just put it into the full screen. That'll be great.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So the problem with the full screen is maybe I'll not be able to see your chat. So Riddhi, you help me if there is any question in the chat box.
For sure, sir.
Yeah, I'll be asking, right?
Yes.
So, Persec Research and the organization OCHRE, Rankers Point, we all are trying to uh, go closer to anybody who is doing research. To set the context, what is the why of our existence, right? So, because we're talking about questions, I want all of you to understand this. There are three questions in life we all have to answer somewhere in some part of our life. Uh, what, how, and where. Everybody. The easiest question is what, right? So if I'm asking from anybody of you, what are you doing? I think everybody will be able to answer it, right? We are just into a session, or maybe we are cooking, or maybe we are driving. It's the easiest question, right? What are you doing? I'm studying, I'm teaching, right? I'm working. How are you doing is little tough. So maybe I cook by using modern utensils, or maybe I drive few vehicles. So it's going to be little tougher that when we answer how are we going to uh, doing it, whatever we're doing it. Even tough is why we are doing it. And in most of times most of us are not able to answer why we are doing it. So if you're playing football and you go and ask why you are playing it, very less of the people, all the people who plays football will be able to answer that they are aiming for a World Cup tournament, or they're aiming for some global recognition or something like that. They just say that they play football. Same goes with the cricket or any sport for that matter. And if I will ask that why you are doing PhD or why you're doing research, most of us may not have answer which convinces the person who is answering, or let alone the person who is asking the question. And as per a famous philosopher and trainer, there is a term called, the name of the person is Simon Sinek, right? So आपने सुना होगा. Simon Sinek says that if you are able to answer why you are doing whatever you are doing, probably you are able to communicate exactly with the same zeal of kinesthetism and audibility and visibility to the person you are talking to. So why we are doing it? This is the question. So why Persec Research and OCHRE and Ranker Point, why these organizations are engaged into doing this lecture, is because we want to create that dent into the system which can uh, increase research or investigated truth in the humming of the entire discourse, the world's discourse. Uh, and in present scenario, since the advent of technology and communications revolution in IT revolution, almost all of us have started speaking, right? So understand, like 20 years from now, 20 years ahead before us, we were not able to communicate properly because the channels either were very expensive or was not accessible at all. So we had this craving uh, of talking, of saying, but there was no instruments available. Today we have all the instruments available for us to broadcast our ideas. All of us can broadcast our ideas with plenty of social media and other platforms accessible to us. But in the process of when we have all been allowed to talk, not all of us are talking with the substance of investigated truths, right? So why it is particularly is a problem. It is a problem because we all have our own notions of truths, which are either created by the perceptions or prejudices or some suppositions which is not scientific. And without hampering the objective of why you are speaking and what is your cause behind all the actions that you are taking in public domain, uh, we as a researcher, or the set or the community of the researchers as an organization, Persec, OCHRE, and Ranker Point, our objective is that whatever you do in your public domain must have some scientific temperament behind it, or some investigated truth attached to it. right? So that is what our intention is. Maybe I'm using a lot of bigger words to explain the very small concern of us as a society, as a mankind, but our concern is uh, uh, equally meaningful for us, and we want this to be actually translated into the humming we all are creating together. I think if we will be more closer to the investigated truth. So philosophically, the truths and investigated truths are two different things. Naturally, because um, uh, simply saying a truth can be a perception, and investigated truth can go further to the reality of what actually we know and how much we are engaged into finding out what truth is. So why we question? So that is the first question. So why, in fact, this sentence that I'm speaking is itself is a question, and I want some of you to put your views about it. Right, just write in the chat box in your own creativity, in your own imagination. I don't force you to sound very academic in your answer, though you can. If you want to be very academic in your response, please, you're welcome to do that. But here the objective is not to test your knowledge. Here the objective is to engage you in more imaginative ways, because we are into a virtual platform. The challenge of the virtual platform is that it never succeeds in taking 100% attention of the participants, right? So if you are in a classroom, in a physical classroom, or in a cinema theater, you are able to give maximum possible attention to the things presented over on the stage or on the dais. But when we are into a virtual platform like Zoom or any video conferencing software, we are engaged into multiple things uh, other than doing the program that we are participating in. And that's why I'm asking you. So start writing, firing your chat box. I may not be reading it immediately, but will be reading it for sure. But please answer it. Why do we question? Why this happens? I'll just try to open the chat box so that I can read few of you. Yeah, yeah, there are a few questions. Mhm. Really, I'm not able to use my mouse for some reason. Is there a problem? Oh, yeah, I can use it. So, Dr. Neetu, the questionnaire and inventory is the same. No, it is not the same. Screen is freeze. Is the PPT moving? No, it is PPT. Sunita PPT did not move to next slide. So questions are to get answers and explanation. Thank you, Parul, for responding. To get views, opinions, and information, Sunita. To understand things are so better to understand it. Okay, so a little complex, Parul, but then okay, I can reach out to satisfy curiosity. Beautiful, Poonam. I think I am the curiosity is the word I fell in love with when I was a child. So, and I, in fact, like curiosity is the first thing which makes us human and separates us from any other uh, respiratory different depending human being, right? So we want confirmation of what we already know. Okay, Archana, I need maybe further elaboration, because we want confirmation of what we already know is, or maybe we sometimes do not even know and we ask questions. So you taking the part of things, right? But maybe Parul again talking about logic to clear doubt. Tashin, very good. So Tashin's answer is very impromptu. Okay, so yeah, so Wafa, to build a knowledge on a particular topic by listening to the experiences, insights of the others. Okay, taken. So thank you very much. So like all of you have yeah. So Ankur is saying to know the perspective of the people, what they think. Perfectly. All of these answers are all of these answers are right, and some of these answers are only partially right, but more or less we are able to go towards the very objective of what we are talking today. So Xavier, you have written a little long. Okay, I'll try to read it. If we construct a knowledge questionnaire, it is the item discrimination and it is difficulty are enough for item analysis. Or so Xavier, I'll hang on, because you're talking more about the questionnaire, you're talking about the more scientific investigation of the truth. So we'll come to that. But before that, the purpose, we have already achieved the purpose. So many responses mean my question also same as Xavier. Okay, Xavier, I'll read a question later when we'll engage with the questionnaire. I do not even start with the questionnaire first, right? So we are going to hang on with the first question. I said that why do we question, and all of you have answered. And the purpose of this question was to let know and have trust that we all are actively engaged to the session. And thank you very much. And I will request that do not engage into multiple things while this session is on. Engage actively with this session. It will, and the best way to engage actively with any conversation is to ask question, right? So first and foremost thing about asking a question is to show and to believe that you are interested. You get my point? So for example, there are thousands of things happening around you, right? Why there is a rain, why there is a problem, why there is a challenge around us, why the winds are blowing, why somebody is cooking what. There are millions questions already spread in our sight, in our audibility, in all the places, right? So but we select only few of them about which we are curious to know more, right? Out of the millions of the questions, we have selected 5, 6, 10 questions about which we want to know immediately. You're getting my point? So that it means what? That out of 100 things that is happening around you, only that particular question that you're asking is taking your attention. It is it gets you interested upon, and it provokes you to invest your time, money, resources, or whatever you have to know further about it. I hope I'm able to explain it in a better context, right? We all are. So, taking an example of how this happens between me and my small son, he's just 6 years old, right? So we both are into same room. We are almost watching the same thing, but his set of questions and my set of questions are always different, because my investment towards the thing that I'm doing is different than what his investment is. And same goes with all of us. If you are in a marriage, in a wedding party, some of you will question that why they have this set of food in the food section. Some of you will have interest in knowing why the bride is wearing this particular gown or some dresses, or maybe why they are late, why they did not come. So like, so in a wedding conference, in a wedding ceremony, there are already million of questions, but which one question you are asking is depending upon, like, for example, this X person did not come, I'm waiting for him. That means out of the 1,000 things happening around you, you're more interested into the presence of a particular person, maybe for any reason for that matter. So the first thing about question is that you are interested to know, and that's why you are asking question. And this is how we funnel down all the problems that we face. So if I'm ill, I will go to the doctor and I will tell him that how I'm experiencing. Doctor will ask questions. So doctor will not ask question that how many people are in the family, or how you are making money, how much money you have, which car did you come. The doctor will immediately ask that, okay, how you've been feeling? Okay, what is your pulse rate? How is your temperature? Are you able to breathe? Are you able to do that? So that means out of the million questions that doctor could have asked from you, he is asking few particular questions which is more relevant to the objective you both are interacting. And if we are able to understand this finite sphere of asking questions, then the remaining lectures becomes very easy for all of us to know and understand and comprehend, right? So I'll go back to the presentation mode because I've been watching to the chats of you guys. Okay, so the another question is, what is the purpose of today's session? So the purpose of today's question is to take away four particular things from you, right? First, what is the role questionnaires play in the research process? Second objective of the session is the criteria of an effective questionnaire. Third is the basic questionnaire administration methods. And the fourth is develop and implement a survey question. So this is all we are going to talk about today. Your questions, my answers, my lectures, and the whole purpose of you and all of us are engaging today here in this session is to answer these four questions, right? And I will request that all of your questions would be relevant to these four objectives today, right? I would love to answer all the questions, but so is not the uh, opportunity here, and so is not the time here. I also want to tell all of you that the instrument of the presentation that we have taken is sourced from a university, which is already displayed in the screen, and that is one way of saying that the set of questions and the set of slides that we have pasted here are very much in the concurrence of exactly what we are willing to know today, right? So yeah, so what is a questionnaire? So questionnaire is a survey instrument, but before that, why do we do survey, by the way, right? So or maybe even let's go even before that, why do we do data collections, right? And what in fact, what role does a data collection method plays in our research? And is that research is all about the way to collect the data and analyze it, or the research is something else? So let me answer the questions that I have already asked from all of you. As someone from the chat box, you have said that we are asking questions to clear the curiosity. But what if there is nobody who can answer the question that we have from the set of curiosities that we have? So let me rephrase what I said. Um, for example, if you have a question of where the sun rises from, and you have your parents and maybe a geography teacher or maybe a scientist who is invested into astrological researches, and the person will be able to answer you that, gentlemen, it rises from east. But what if something is happening and there is no one to verbally or to verbally answer you the question? How will you get the answers, right? So in order to do that, you will make some observations, or you will make some experiments, or you will make some you'll make the some arrangements in your surroundings so that the events happens again and again, and then you analyze that events. So let me give an example for the situation. For example, you see that there is a seed which yields a fruit after say 10 to 12 months of time. On all these seeds are yielding different kind of fruits, right? So what will be your way of knowing perfectly that how other all the seeds are giving different kind of fruits? So one is that you go and ask it from anybody who is expert in agriculture or cultivation. Second way is that you see all the seeds, you sow these seeds by yourself and see that how these seeds are converting to plants, and how these plants are giving fruits and fruitation happens. And the third way is that you compare from the set of seeds that you already know from the set of seeds that you do not know, and then do your analysis. So So the third part is called experiment. The second part that I have said is called observation. And the first part was simply asking a question from somebody who knows. But what if the kind of questions you're asking are generic questions, and there will be hundred of the people who will be able to answer those questions, but you cannot confidently say that these guys who are answering my questions are the ones who exactly know it, perfectly know it, or maybe they are the proven expert who will be knowing it, right? So in that case, what happens, friend, is that we have to create sufficient evidence that whatever responses I have got out of the questions that I have asked must be credible, right? There has to be some source of evidence which will let others believe that okay, the kind of answers I have got are the right answers. In so what is scientific temperament? Understand this scientific temperament. Scientific temperament says that okay, you have got some wild knowledge from the world unknown, but why will I believe it, and why anybody will believe it? So for example, you say that God is real, and I have seen God from my naked eye. I had conversed things from the God, and you're telling this to me, and I say that why will I believe you, right? So for example, if I go and ask to a few people that, boss, did you see God? And they say that yes, I have seen God. Then your immediate question is like, who are you, man? Like how can I be sure of believing upon your answer? Then the person will say, oh, I'm just an ordinary worker. I do not have any credible things to tell you, but all I can tell you is that I have seen God from my naked eyes. So what will be your propensity to believe upon it? You getting what I'm saying? So what will be your propensity? I have some, I think there are some questions. Riddhi, you can stop me any point of time and read the question if you want to. Like if you think that there are something come, because I'm not watching the chat as of now. Okay, I'll go back to the things that I've been talking. Then you will go to, this will automatically occur to you that I should go to the priests in the temple and ask them whether they have seen God or not. So what you have done now, that asking from the ordinary people, your curiosity did not satisfy sufficiently. And then you go to the set of priests, and then you realize that, okay, this priest belongs to a particular religion, and that religion may have some biased understanding about the God. So I will do one thing, I will go 10 priests from all the religions and ask the same questions from them, and just try to understand what are their responses. Maybe that will add on to some credit worthy informations that will help me conclude that God exists and people have seen gods from their naked eyes, right? So after going to 5 sets of or 10 sets of priests from all the possible religions in your vicinity, you still have got the feeling that all of them are biased, all of them are having some agenda to sell, and I want answers free of the agenda. Then probably you will be asking questions little differently. Instead of asking questions rightly, that, boss, have you seen God? Rather than that, you will ask question that, okay, if you have seen God, what God looks like? Is the God looks like people, or is the God looks like some animal, or it doesn't look like anything we have seen at all, or maybe it doesn't even appear, or maybe how it is, right? So now your set of questions are designed in a way that you are asking the same question basically, but with more you have added more perspective, which will remove any sort of the biasness that the respondent may have, and the answers that are coming to you will give you more scientifically conclusive result about whether the God exists or not, right? So this is, so by this example you can understand that merely having curiosity, merely immediately asking from somebody about the curiosity will not give you an answer which is scientifically credit worthy. You have to pose those questions in a method that have more scientific temperament, and by collecting those answers, if you'll go to the bigger platform to say that, okay, I got these answers for this set of questions, there will be people who will be believing upon you. So for example, if I say that I have seen a rain which has submerged entire biggest city of the world, and I'm going to a stage and I'm saying there are hundred of other experts in monsoons and weather reports and geography and geologies are sitting. And if I'm saying that, okay, I have seen a rain which has flooded the biggest city of the world, and has the world city have been submerged. So these audience, the people sitting in the audience will have plenty of questions to examine whether I'm saying things right or wrong. And if I'll not be able to satisfy those answers, then nobody is going to believe that I have seen a city which has been flooded and submerged. Right? So that means asking the question is one thing, getting the answer is another thing, believing upon those answers is another thing, and letting the world believe that you have got the right answers is another thing. So any research has this complete journey of having a curiosity to having a credit worthy answer to that curiosity, which this entire world can buy it. So how are Newton's concept of gravity is world accepted in spite of the fact that apple has always been falling from sky, from tree to the land? It is not that the first time apple was falling to the head of a scientist called Newton. Or maybe it is not the first time that some Aryabhat or some Galileo has got to know that no, actually sun is stationary and planet Earth is moving around it. And it is not the first time that somebody have got that okay, um, the electricity on the sky can be converted into a usable and consumable energy. So all these, the people who are given credit of these knowledge are the people who have got this curiosity, made their journey all the way to do all kinds of observations and making it unbiased investigation and presenting into the world, facing the answers and criticism of the world, and then letting the world accept the argument they are placing forward about some curiosity. So this entire journey is called research, and the more people you're able to satisfy, the more people are able to use your literature as a citations, the more people are backing your research, is the more scientifically temper proved knowledge you have produced, right? So the idea of a research is to produce knowledge on which the world can rely. That is the objective of research, and it starts from the curiosity. And it never ends basically, but it somewhere goes to the saturations when world starts accepting what you are talking. So I hope I have created a sufficient window in your brain to talk about what I'm talking, right? So a questionnaire is a survey instrument. It is a series of questions designed to elicit information from the respondents to relate to the research question. So in this one sentence, all the important point have been engaged, right? So there has to be a research question, and this question has, and you should know that who will be able to answer these questions from you. Then your job is to make sure that respondent is asking without answering the question without any biases. And the third is that your instrument is designed in a way that it is asking only relevant question and complete questions about the particular subject that you are investigating, right? And it has to be administered to the respondent. So there are two ways of doing a meeting. One is that I simply walk into your home or walk into your office and ask random questions from you, go back home and note down whatever you have answered. What is the risk here? The risk is that if I am going unprepared to you, I may end up talking about a lot of things, but will not be able to talk exactly on the point I was planned to talk to you, basically. The second problem is that by the time I will be back to home, I will be able to forget almost all the discussions that happened, or at least the important, relevant key variables about which we've been talking. The third is that by the moment when I will go back home and I will start answering the responses that you have given, I will start adulterating those responses by my own convictions, my own biases, and my own belief systems. That means if I am not, if I have not designed a set of questions, chances are very high that I will adulterate or I will dilute the very significance of doing the study that I have been doing. That means the questionnaire is a structured instrument which helps you ask relevant questions, sufficient questions, important questions, and able to help you record the responses without any biases, without losing any crucial information, and without actually getting any other informations which are not relevant to the particular subject. So it filters out all the things that is not important to your research, and ensures that all the important things you will need in the research is adequately recorded and will not be lost in the further process of proceedings of our researchers. So that is the complete objective. Reading further is that you want to collect appropriate, is the term here, data that meet your research objectives, and it gives you data which will be analyzable, right? So that is another challenge. You can so for example, you can be a Lord Hanuman, and when you are asked to collect Sanjeevani booty, you have gone there and collected the entire mountain back home, and at the time, because you're not sure that what particular is a Sanjeevani booty, but you've been mighty enough that you have taken the entire mountain back in order to get Lakshman cured. But my dear friend, not all of us are Hanuman. In fact, none of us are Lord Hanuman, and none of us can carry mountain from Himalaya to Sri Lanka, and none of us can afford to not identify what Sanjeevani booty is. I hope I have made it clear. So as a researcher, Baba now, as a researcher, we all have to be sure that I know exactly what Sanjeevani booty is, because I know what are the things in stake. I don't have a might capacity that I'm a Lord Hanuman, and I don't have any risk as high as saving the life of Lord Ram's brother, right? So that is also not in the stake. The only thing stake is maybe irrelevant to the million other people. That is my research, my PhD or my something else. It's not saving the life of Lakshman. That is not the stake here. And the 4 point is that I cannot take mountain and I cannot travel so fast that before sunrise, the next sunrise, I am able to travel back and forth from the Himalaya, from Sri Lanka. So understand these things. So based upon that, I'm saying that in order to know that whether Sanjeevani booty will be able to cure Lord Ram's brother Lakshman, I should exactly know that what is Sanjeevani booty is and how can I take it further before it's too late. So all these things, right? So the particular thing is that the Sanjeevani booty must be able to cure Lord Ram's brother. Otherwise, it is of no use for anybody. And then minimize the biases, distortions caused by poorly worded questions and improper survey administrations. So what are the poorly worded questions and improper survey administrations? I will hang on, I will talk because I have dedicated slides for it. Right, then make the questions varied, engaging to eliminate respondent fatigue. What is respondent fatigue? Well, none of us will love answering questions. Baba Naik, Baba. None of us are none of us love questions, basically. Even if I have desire to go on stage and talk and people should be fall in love with me, or something like that, but the real fact is that nobody wants questions to be answered. So and that's why if you'll give some set of questions to somebody, and I forget about a research question in which anywhere from 20 questions to 200 questions you're going to ask from one person. Imagine the person's situation. Will he or she be able to answer you adequately, rightly, with the same temperament, with the right amount of thought given to this? Will they be able to answer or not? So that is called respondent fatigue. We'll talk more about it in the subsequent slide. I hope the slide is moving. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, it is.
Okay. No. Okay. I have to make some changes. Wait a second, because like things overlap and then I'm able to not see it. I will do this by doing this. Okay. And then I want the chat box to be somewhere at the corner. So I can see the chat boxes. Hang on, guys. I am poor at this thing, so I don't know.
By the time sir is making some corrections, in case participants have any more questions to ask, kindly drop them down in the chat box and I'll
Yes.
be taking them.
So in the chat box, I can see data collection is done for authentic information. Thank you, Dr. Nilu. Will the presentation be shared? Yeah, it will be shared. Parul, we have new issues due to rain, so we'll get the recorded session. Yes, Parul, you'll get. Okay, I think all these questions are not relevant to the subject.
Yes, sir.
Guys, anybody, if you have a question, please ask question. And in fact, we are talking about the questionnaire, and I want that questions keep on firing up in the chat window. Ask as many questions you want, so it will be really lovely.
As sir rightly said, I'm so sorry to interrupt you in between.
So please.
Don't hesitate, participants. It can be slightest of the slightest. It can be basic questions like any kind of basic questions are also accepted and appreciated because we all are here to learn. So
Yeah.
participants, don't hesitate at all. Drop
Yes.
down your questions and we'll be happily answering them all.
Answering them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you, Riddhi, for making it more clear to all of us. Okay, so before talking about this slide, I want you guys to put your questions. How questions linked to data analysis? Dr. Somshekara, thank you very much asking these questions. There are some slides already pointed here about the Likert scale, about all these scales. I will answer these questions. We are ahead of the session plan. So, but anyway, thank you for this question, the scale items and all these things. Thank you, Dr. Somshekara. Sunita is asking, sir, 7-point Likert scales or 5-point Likert scales is better. It is a relevant question, Sunita, whether your question, how much variation in people response can happen to a particular question will depend at what kind of Likert scale I'm talking. And Likert scale must have some sort of symmetry. I will also discuss about the symmetry, but before that, it is better that I'm engaged talking. So for example, if I'm talking about, so have you seen that advertisement in which where people are scaling about fairness scale, right? So before this Black Lives Matters controversy, there used to be plenty of cosmetic companies used to talk about the fairness. Fair and Lovely is one. So these guys have come up with a scale of 1 to 10, that how much fairness has been increased by using their particular cosmetics. So fairness is, or maybe the color of the skin is one thing, which I think if I'll ask anybody that how fair you are, then it will not be answering to 3 questions that no, I'm dark and I'm fair. It will not have a binary answer. It will not have a 5 scale answer, right? So okay, I'm lighter than this and I'm darker than that. It will have at least 10 to 12 scales to answer it sufficiently about the color of skin. And similarly, if I'm asking somebody that, boss, are you married or not? So there can be only 2 answers: either you're married or you're not married, or maybe third answer that I'm married but divorce awaited, or something like that. So depends upon what is the measurability of the question we put the scale forward, right? So there will be some little discussion, detailed discussion about it also. So I'll Dr. Somshekara, I'm going to talk about the sample size as well today, but I'll keep it for the next thing. So I've got then Farah, how many questions should be there in a questionnaire? Okay, so how should I say that? Mm, this is important question. How? Okay. So so there are 2 ways to answer this question. How many questions should be there? So there is a complete research paper is there. After this session, we'll share that questionnaire. Depending upon what is your sample size and how many variables you are attempting in your research, and what are your tools to examine that particular hypothesis that you have created, your questions should be addressed. For example, if you're doing a psychological study, and in psychological study you're talking about anxiety, so naturally all the all the methods to measure that anxiety should be added to the question. So it became very much subject oriented. The questionnaire, the size of the questionnaire become very subject oriented, right? And for example, if I am asking about which color of shirt or which color of office dress increases good mood and makes people more uh, efficient into working. If I'm trying to answer this question, then perhaps my question will be, my answer will be, my set of questions will can be 100 questions or can be limited to 5 questions. So here the kind of respondent I have and the kind of objective and hypothesis I have created, it will be based upon that, right? So but Farah, your question is absolutely crucial to be answered. Why? Because we should exactly know that how many questions we should ask, because the biggest challenge as a researcher we face out of all the challenges which are there is that something called respondent fatigue. If we have more questions, if we have more answers, um, more questions there, then people will least likely to be interested in answering all those questions with the same amount of attention and sincerity, right? So that is why it is very important. I hope I will be able to add more to your answers in the subsequent session. I will attend more question first, right? So then Poonam is asking, is it must to do pilot testing for self-made questionnaire app, even if the questionnaires are taken from the ready-made tool, Poonam? Must do pilot study, because pilot study will give you a perspective of whether you are going right into the direction. I mean, it is like before check. So it's like it is, you're using hot water for taking bath, and if you're not testing how exactly the water is hot and you pour the entire water on your head, imagine if it is too hot, what will happen, and imagine if it is not sufficiently hot, what will happen. So in either of the cases, you will, the very purpose of taking hot water bath will be lost. So it is advisable that you touch the water and measure the temperature of the water before actually even starting to take bath. So it is absolutely necessary, Poonam, to do pilot survey, even if a smallest pilot survey, but it is very important, right? Thank you for this question. It's a very good question. Dr. Somsekhar, sample size linked with the number of questions. There are theories which is linking it, Dr. Somsekhar, but I don't believe upon those theories. I believe that if the sample size is infinite, take some 400 questions and it will answer the things. That is the ideal way of looking at it. People say that if you have a 10 questions, then you must have at least 10x respondent, but it is again a very biased way of looking at the questionnaire, right? So I will not, though there are theories, Dr. Somsekhar, I will not and recommend you that theory that your number of respondents should be linked with the questions, or your sample size should have any linking with the questions. Sample size should be dedicated with the thought that whether or not it will give me sufficient scientific evidence of proving my claim in my research. That should be the answer of sample size. And number of questions should be linked with the fact that am I taking sufficient questions to collect the complete answer. That are the two different nuances. So both are separately independent challenges. Number of questions and number of sample size are the two different things. But what happens in our real world, we try to say that the questionnaires, the questions should be 10x of the sample sizes. It is not the right way. It is something like I say that the length of the age of a life is directly dependent to the number of breath you take in 1 minute. I think it's very, people can just die even next second, even if they're taking very good breath, right? So though it is true that number of breath will be counted if you're living long life, and will be shortened if you're living a smaller life, but that's not a direct interdependent variable, right? Number of breath and age of a human is not an dependent variable, right? It is an independent variable. Similarly, number of question and sample size are independent variable. Both are having separate set of reasons to scale, right? So number of number of questions will depend upon the number size of the kind of question and hypothesis you have built, and sample size is that how much truth, evidential truth, and how much um, acceptable truth you are trying to ask. So for example, if you're doing a research on which political party will win the next election of your state, and if you go and ask from only 10 people 10 questions, then you will not be able to answer that which political party is going to win. But if you're going to ask say 5,000 people with say 10 questions, then I think you will be having some credible reasons that which particular party is going to win next political election. But if you're having 50 questions and say 7,000 samples, then you will not only be able to know that which political party is going to win, you will also be able to know that what are the reasons, what are the issues based upon which the next political party is going to make the government. So I hope I have answered, Dr. Somshekar, your question. Kritika is asking, can you please explain with some live research questions and example papers, etc. So Kritika, the purpose today is not very much relevant to take some particular example of a questionnaire, because the respondent, the participants here are not only from the management background or any particular subjects, but are also coming from, though the kind of examples I'm taking here are more related to your day-to-day lives, and because it is related to your day-to-day lives, it will help you imagine and guess exactly what I'm doing. However, to satisfy your requirement, at the end of the session, I will discuss some of the questions in which I will try to prove evidently that what the things I'm saying is right. So thank you very much putting this new attention angle to it, Kritika. However, I was not thinking that I will take the lecture that way, but I will keep your question in mind from next onwards. Suman, how to validate the questionnaire? Okay, question, Samana, Jaiprakash ji, that's a very good question. So in order to validate the questionnaire, there are two methods. One method is that you ask it to the expert, those who are already expert, right? Maybe the panel of experts, maybe the colleague with your supervisor, maybe your own colleagues who are relatively more invested into the researches. That is one way of validating the questionnaire. The second way is that you head on go to 30, 40 respondent profiles and ask them to get the fill up the questionnaire as if you're filling up the questionnaire in your real study, and then see that whether or not all my hypotheses are holding true. Am I able to accommodate our questions? Are these questions, are these set of respondents will be able to give sufficient answers to me? So these are two different methods, right? And make sure that you iterate. Iteration is that, for example, you went to experts, 4 or 5 experts, and they've given some comment. Give that thought to that comment, improve your questionnaire. Then you go to the next method of asking your response, prospective respondents, some 10, 5 prospective respondents, come back and analyze the results, that whether or not that result is sufficiently answering all my hypotheses or not. And if that is so, then you go and then you consider your questionnaire is theoretically validated. And then for practical validations, you should go investigate some Cronbach alpha tests and other scientific statistical tests to prove it. Right, Somana, I hope I have given you some answer to go ahead from. I will hope that you can again come back with the question if it is. Anita is asking questions, sir. Will you discuss about the reliability check of the question? Of course, I'm going to discuss about the reliability. Nitika is asking how to develop scale in the questionnaire. Okay, Nitika, questionnaire and scale are little elaborated topic and little topic which needs some information about your subject. So if you're in the subsequent chat, if you can write your subject, then probably I'll be able to correlate this question better for you, right? So yeah, but this question remains unanswered as of now. I will attempt answering this. Manoj, how to develop a close-ended question? Manoj, thank you very much. This question, I think in the next 3 4 slide only, I'm going to cover this question for you. Ankur sir, is it necessary to adopt or adapt the categorical questions like adopting and adapting scale items related to particular question? So Ankur, do not again complicate the whole questionnaire thing, right? That your questions must include all your hypotheses that is there, whether it needs categorical questions, non-categorical questions, whether it needs ready built tools, or you have to build the tools. All said and done, you have an objective of your research in your hand. Based on that objective, you have to create some hypothesis to create, to prove, to scientifically prove your assumptions about your researches, and prove or disapprove your assumptions about the questions that you've taken, and scientifically able to do that. As long as your questionnaire is doing it, it doesn't matter with what fashion or what design or what pattern have you identified, right? So please remember the point that I'm trying to make here is that your hypothesis must be answered by, right, tested by the set of questions you ask. That is the only way forward for this. Which type of questionnaire is has a wider scope? Why would, Jyotsna, why would you ask for the wider scope? If you can go up and say so confidently. Right. So wider scope. I need little more thing about your question, Jyotsna. It's a half answer, half question actually. Do we write all categorical, or we just write a rate on the scale of 1 to 7, where 1 is strongly disagreed and strongly agreed? Sunita, I again need the context of your question. The ultimate purpose is here that your respondent must be able to understand the questions and options available. Take number one. Number two, after taking the responses and informations from them, are you able to use it in your test and analysis? That should be the real way of looking at it. So whether you are putting a nomenclature to all the 1 to 7 Likert scale, whether you are not putting any nomenclature to it, it doesn't matter, right? All that matters is that your respondent is able to understand what exactly you're asking and how exactly are you trying to answer it. Right, Sunita ji, I hope I have answered. Farah, thanks for answer. Okay, 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 okay. Manoj, is it necessary that questions are mixed type like 5.7? Okay, Manoj, thank you very much for this question. The straightforward answer is no, because it will put you in a very hard situation of analysis, right? You as an analysis will be in biggest problem if you have used multiple scales. That is why I'm saying no. If you say that possibility, yes, it is always possible. You can put all the kinds of questions in your questionnaire. So it is not impossible, and it is not something we should not do ideally. But the fact is, as an analyst, if you are capable enough to make your scales answer your test your hypothesis, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, what is my advice is that put it into one possible scale or maximum 2 scale, and do not interlink your hypothesis with 2 different scales. So for example, you have a variable and b variable, and all the things that you're measuring about the b variable are in 7 point Likert scale, and all the things that you're measuring about a variable are into 5 point Likert scale. And if you will try to test some hypothesis between two of these variables, your answer will be inaccurate and will be questioned by the panel of expert. So that is something not advisable. Other than that, you can have any length of question and you can do all the things, right? So thank you, Manoj. Parul, how many questions to measure any particular variable? It's again a subjective question, Parul. We need to understand. So for example, as I said that, for example, if you're measuring anxiety, then all the 70, 80 questions pertaining to anxiety must be the part of your questionnaire. If you're talking about whether a respondent has a fever or not, then fever, I think, is having only one question sufficiently answering that what is the temperature in the thermometer, right? So depending upon which kind of variable you're measuring. So if you're measuring that fever, only one question, the number in the thermometer is sufficient. If you're questioning, say, for example, whether did you like the house or not, then maybe the liking the house will the color of the wall and the interior design, the color of light, wind in direction of house, and there are 20 other questions. So it again is a very subjective, Parul. Thank you very much for this question. Anish, you're asking, can you explain what types of tool can be used for the analysis? Of course, analysis it is very much in the part of the lecture that we have planned. Sunil is asking how many unstructured questions can be used in a questionnaire. Again, Manish, Sunil, this is again, so don't go by these jargons of unstructured question, structured question and all. Focus on your hypothesis. your hypothesis must be tested. And the fact is, the more unstructured questions you have, the less is the chances that you will be able to test your hypothesis. You're only complicating your analysis. That means that if you will not invest yourself sufficiently in making your questionnaire or any instrument of data collection for that matter, then your research will be very, very painful, or some may become impossible. So it should be this way, it should be thought this way, not in the academic jargons of the number of questions. So and that is always my intention as a teacher, is that to help you understand the fact that do not devote yourself much into the academic jargons of research. Go very surreal, very real into the kind of questions that you are attempting. And in this process, you will automatically know the academic nuances and academic jargons. It will automatically help you. But if you'll go other way around, that first learning the academic jargons of the methodology and then going and starting doing the research, you will keep on confusing yourself and everybody around you into the things which is important, which is not important. Take it. I mean, it's like jump into the river, into the pond or a swimming pool first, feel whether or not you're able to swim or not, then go back and start open the book of how to swim, how learning how to swim, right? Then it will be more relatable to your problems, and you will be able to pay attention to your kind of problems, and that will be quickly help you learn the swimming. And once you will become swimming expert, all the books in the swimmings will be automatically comprehensible to you. It will become your default knowledge in the very particular thing that you're doing. So please change the objective of doing with in academic theory rather than going practical with it, right? So though what is saying that and the question is itself standing unanswered, right? Because Sunil, if you're taking unstructured question, then why you are making a questionnaire for that matter, right? Because then you can actually have some other method of data collection, then and the world is open for the data collection. So Jyotsna, what are the steps to construct questionnaire? Very wonderful questions. Step one, I will like, I know you're going to hate me for this answer. Step one is literature review, literature review, literature review, literature review. This is the first 10 steps to take it, because until unless you're not sure about what others are studying pertaining to your subject, you will not be able to exactly know that what is remained unanswered, and out of everything which is remained unanswered, what are the particular questions you want to get the answers of. So that is where we have to invest ourselves more, right? So steps depends upon how big is the subject. Out of that big subject, what particular thing I want to answer, and out of the things that I want to answer is what exactly will it take in terms of resource and time, and what is my ultimate purpose by answering that question. Whether my ultimate purpose is to achieve a PhD or publish a research paper, or actually know the answer and win a Nobel Award by doing that, right? So if my aim is to get a Nobel Award, then I think that steps going to be very detailed and very pinpointed and microscopic. But if my objective is to write a research paper, then probably I can skip a lot of steps and can fast forward the entire process, right? So but what is not is non-compromisable and non-negotiable, Jyotsna, is the fact that you have to do lot of literature review. Literature review begins confusing you, but and there will be a tipping point when it will start convincing you. And once you reach that tipping point, the ball starts rolling and your research becomes the cakewalk. That's the magic of literature review. जितने भी all the researchers that you have met so far, if they are saying that you can go light with the literature review, are actually not being becoming truthful with you, right, friend? I have a lot of questions coming in. What are the difference between pilot study and actual survey? Dr. Somsekhar, pilot is like, if you're suppose if you're planning to have a hot water bath, testing whether the water is adequately hot or not, will it give you a joyful bath experience or not, is called pilot testing. And actual survey is like taking the bath and enjoying and singing along with the bath. That is the actual questionnaire. I hope I answered it in a little comic way, but then the fact remains the same, that this is what it is. Thanks, sir. My subject are human resource management for Nitika. Nitika, can we take this question offline better, because it has some um, informations remain here, right? So we can always connect, right? I will give you my contact details at the end of the session, and we can show. I would love to answer your question. How to use digital tools for the questionnaire? Vishal, I will answer this question in few slides from now. Thank you, Ankur. Manisha, can we start with your presentation and move? Right, Manisha, I know we are getting an access, but beta, the whole factor is that the why we are engaged in live session is because we want to answer the live curiosity. We can always explain and record the session on the PPT that I have planned, and it will go on. So thank you. Please have that patience. I have all intention to complete my presentation that I'm here, but yeah, so this way we are more engaged in a virtual setup. Otherwise, what will happen, people will start go to, somebody will go kitchen by putting headphone and mic, and somebody will go out in the walking, and somebody will, so things will go waste. So how our intention is to use this time more perfectly. Dr. Somsekhar, how to source the question? That how to source the question is very good question. I'll try to attempt the question in subsequent one. Harshin, sir, how we will measure the stress, health, and fitness if we want to measure? Subjective question, Harshin. I want to know that why you are measuring stress, health, and fitness, and in order to do that, whether there are already built tools available with us, and if there are the tools, we have simply copy the tools and send, like mention the reason why we are copying the tool, and what are we trying to measure. So it is again subjective. So yeah, so it is measurable. I think the best answer for you is to get the measurement of there are already tools available to measure the stress. Take that tool, then health, and then fitness, and then you'll see that there are some questions overlapping. Remove those overlapping questions, and then your questionnaire is ready. So that is one way. What kind of skill we will go for? Harshin will acha, in the format question you're asking. So scale will again be subjective. So I think, yeah, it is advisable for you, Harshin, to take the ready-made tools available. So that will give you all the answers you want here. Then I would, okay, so I think there are only few remain. If related skills are available in literature, so is it necessary to use those skills, or we can develop our own? Sunita, very good question. Thank you very much. We can always develop our own skill, provided we have time, we have money, and we have what we call right objective. So if you're just writing a research paper, don't waste so much resources in doing that, right? If you're writing your own book and you want to publish that book, it is a very great idea to have your own scale. And if you're doing a PhD in which you want to win a gold medal, it is very, or if you're aiming for a Nobel award or some world level recognition award, go and do that. Otherwise, my advice is that use the already available scale, because that will satisfy the people who are going to examine your research more as compared to you are creating your own skill, right? And if you're into some academic research, my advice is to take other skills and do it, because there you will be more in a critical grilling rather than people believing upon the hard work you have invested into creating your own skill, right? So understand the fact, will people accept what you are doing or not? And in the process of accepting it, will the people will give you what we call it, credit of doing it? And if not, because if you're writing a research paper, it will go for the journals, you lost. So if you're creating your own skill, and if you have invested so much amount, I will say that you write a book and publish a book and claim that skill afterwards into some of the other research conferences. So that is the best way, so that it becomes your idea first. Okay, Ankur, how to increase your responses rates and best practices and improvements? I'm going to answer it, Manish, a little later. Harshin, I will come back to you, sir. Please, first we can complete the session. Parallel. Okay, guys, so let's do the session. So in your screen, you can see that there is a diagram made that when exactly you need a questionnaire. So that means in any research, first thing for you is to do literature review. After doing literature review, you will get literature gap analysis. Based on those gap analysis, that gap analysis can be very big. Pick up what are those gaps you want to address in your research. Once you pick up that, okay, out of the pool of water available, I want these many spoon of water, and these many spoon of water I want to address in my research, Then based on what water you have in that particular spoon, you create your research objective. So once your research objectives are framed, then you produce your research title. It should not be other way around. What people normally do, they come up with a research title, then they write research objective, and then they start their literature review. No, the moment you have got an idea that okay, I want to study about the homesickness of the people living in home as work from home situation, then I should do lot of literature study about all the things about the work from home are available, or maybe the stress it is available, or maybe living longer period of time in home, not socializing outside, what working from outside gives you and doesn't gives you. And you study all these things and then find out that okay, this much has already been done, but this lot much has not yet been done. Out of this lot that has not been yet done, this is what I want to do, and this is my particular thing I will be investigating, focusing my research upon, and then I will draw my objectives from here. And once my objectives are formed, then I will write my title of the research. Right, this has to be this way, not other way around. Once your objectives are formed, you will again do a lot of literature review to figure out that how will you able to sufficiently and with credibly able to prove these objectives. That means now you're creating your concept, and the process of creating your concept, you will create your hypothesis. Once your hypotheses are built, then you will identify, and in fact before even building the hypothesis, you have to figure out who are the respondents, who are going to answer the questions. Are the people who are going to answer the questions are the exactly those who will learn to answer me, or not, or if not, then what? Right, so I have to identify who are my respondent, what are my objectives, then creating what are my hypotheses, then going back to create my questionnaire. Once my questionnaire has been done, then I will collect the answers from them, and then I'll do analysis. Then I'll find out my findings. Then I will develop that are my findings close to my research objectives, and then I will write my report. So this is has to be the cycle, right, friend? And that is where questionnaire fits in. Moving to the next, an effective questionnaire criteria. I think this will answer to a lot of questions that remain unanswered so far, right? The questionnaire has to be recording complete information, not incomplete information. Why Lord Hanuman have taken entire mountain? Because he wanted to be sure that this long journey cannot be redone once I miss any part here. So it is better to take the mountain to Sri Lanka rather than keep asking, because there is no walkie-talkie or mobile phone available, rather than ensuring picking or guessing which is the right plant we are talking about here. So that's why he was taken. So the first and foremost thing is that your research question must be able to record complete information. Number two is unbiased structure of the questionnaire. What is unbiased structure of the questionnaire? That I am not putting any preposition, any supposition in my question, or I am not allowing the respondent to have any supposition. So for example, that you're saying that how good is to invest in in share market. How is the question? How good it is to invest in share market? This is a biased question, because somebody can say that boss, I do not invest in share market at all. So it is irrelevant for me to ask. That means here the questionnaire, here the researcher is biased, that he has assumed, he or she has assumed that everybody in the world is investing in the research market, share market. You got my point? So don't be biased. Another is it elicit information from the respondent without stressing them. Very important. Do not stress your respondent. Right? I will. So, for example, if I'll go to ask any my respondent that boss, were you virgin before marriage? It's a tough question. Even if I exactly know the answer, I will not answer it rightly. I don't want to answer it. And it is a lot of stress, because I don't know where your questionnaire is going to go, what it will do to me. right? So it is something which is putting me at stress. I don't want to answer that question, so do not do that. Fourth is designed for the manner in which the questionnaire will be administered. Always remain the fact, everybody is vulnerable to the placebo effect. Let me repeat my question sentence. Everybody is vulnerable to placebo effect. What is placebo effect? The placebo effect is that, for example, somebody is ill, lying in the bed and not feeling like coming out of the bed. And somebody who loves him or her goes by, touches the forehead and says that, oh, you're not ill at all. Come on, get out of bed. You're energetic. Come work. And then you feel like, oh, yes, the fever is gone. Oh, yes, I'm feeling good. This is called placebo effect. I mean, just, and then there is somebody who is saying that, okay, take this medicine. And that is not exactly a medicine. That is just a cup, tint of salt, and the moment you've taken that medicine, you're feeling like, oh yes, I'm feeling better, and all the illness has gone. That is called placebo effect. The point I'm trying to make here, dear guys, is that the moment I say that I'm going to ask some question from you, you will immediately become into mind, okay, I don't know what is going to ask, whether I have to answer it all. Am I interested in asking? I have another to do things to do. Why should I answer his questions? Okay, I'll pass the buck. I'll quickly do something. I will just pre-assume a lot of things, and I will try to evade from the question that you're going to ask, right? So in order to remove this evasion, this kind of distractions, my set of questions will be will take the journey from the respondent, which will help getting right and appropriate responses from the respondent. That is very important for us to reveal, right? Then designate the and to make the data analysis simple and less prone to error. This is again, so these two things are for us as a researcher, that boss, do not take entire mountain when only Sanjeevani was asked for you, because you don't have Rishi Muni as capable as the one who was treating Lord Lakshman, right? You don't have that good supervisor here to help you out, right? So your supervisor is not the Rishi Muni who was curing Lord Lakshman, right? So you still have remain, the problem will remain same if you're not doing it. So you ultimately, all the information that you're receiving, it must be able to help you in data analysis, not to further increase the complexity of your data response, right? And the sixth is the respondent's answers should be easily coded. So the question about your the question about your things like uh, whether it has to be 7 scale Likert scale or 5 scale Likert scale. No, the idea is whether it is codable. And if it is not codable, then the scale that you're fitting in is not appropriate scale, right? So take this in advance. Okay. Okay. Oh, Parul, I was reading 2.17. I thought, what is that number? Okay. Okay, so I'll go ahead and talk about the next thing. Surveys can be, so there are 4 ways of doing the survey. So guys, please try and understand, survey is one out of many methods available for data collection, right? And here we are only talking about survey because questionnaire exclusively deals with survey only. There are other methods. So in survey, there are 4 types of survey. One is called face-to-face survey, second is telephonic survey, third is a respondent administered interview survey, and it's not fifth, it's sorry, fourth one is a respondent administered interviews using online questionnaire. So right, there are 4 ways of doing it. Face to face is best, nothing like face to face. But face to face, for example, you're doing a research in which you have to have a 600 samples, facing 600 people with 40 set of questions is going to take a lot of time, lot of money, and lot of energy and undivided attention. But face to face is equivalent to bringing mountain when you are actually asked to bring Sanjeevani booty. You take this point, right? But that is the best you can do. But whether you have sufficient energy and mental to do that. Next is telephonic. In telephonic, like in this Zoom call, I'm not able to see any one of you. I'm just assuming that you guys are listening to me with undivided attention. Sumana has a question. Sir, please explain framing the questions from variables then text book better. Okay, Suman. Again, I want you to connect out of the session after this session, but I'll try to answer this question before I'm going ahead. Uh, so variables is something which will have a logical context with some other variable. You got my point? So there is a variable A and variable B, and your hypothesis will be, is the variable A have some impact on variable B, positive impact, negative impact, no impact, vulnerable, right, high impact, some you will have some relationship with variable A and variable B. And for example, in your study, sometime variable A have positive relationship with variable B. In some other time, the same variable A have a negative relation with the same variable B, and at sometimes the same variable have no relation at all. There can be three instances or maybe multiple instances that sometimes it is very fast positive relationship, sometimes it is very slow positive relationship, sometimes it is neutral relationship, sometimes it is negative relationship, sometimes it is extremely negative relationship. So there can be these many possible outcomes. So and you cannot take this as an answer because that is not yet sufficient testing of hypothesis. Then you have to break down those Nitika, I'm asking the question. So you have to break down those variables into the factors which are positively impacting, factors which are negatively impacting, and factors which are not at all impacting. So what you have done, so for example, that your bike sometimes is running very fast, sometimes it is running very low, sometimes the mileage is very high, sometimes the mileage is very low. And if you want to measure that why it is happening, then rather than looking completely at the bike, go look at the engine, go look at the carburetor, go look at the gearbox, go look at the engine oil. Probably you will get your answers. So maybe the engine oil is right, it is not impacting the mileage of your bike, but the carburetor has some chokes which is impacting the things. And likewise you can have lot of other reasons. So by breaking down your variable from a complete bike to the engine oil and carburetors and gearboxes, you are able to go closer to the exact problem you're trying to investigate. I hope I kind of answered this question. And Nitika is asking that what are the moderating variables? So there are a lot of variables, beta. So for example, if you are investigating something, have a relationship from a variable A and variable B, and variable B have a relationship variable A only when variable C is introduced. And if the variable C is missing, then variable B and variable A have no relationship at all. Then variable C is called moderating variable, right? So these, because these variables are going to give you the brackets of where. So for example, if you are saying that by adding more accelerated choking, the bike will slow down, right? That is your relationship. So the speed is one variable, and accelerating mechanism is one variable, choking down is a third variable. But if that choke is fuzzing, is locking, and is not giving the dripping of fuel rightly, then probably it will not work. Then amount of fuel, amount of what we call about density of fuel, efficiency of fuel will become the moderating variable here. And then there are some erroneous variable and other things that you would have discussed in your theoretical setup. But I will again is emphasis here from all of you, gentle ladies and gentlemen, that do not go much into the academic metaphors. It confuses. I have invested 10 years of my life reading the researches theoretically and then implementing it practically. And I have this very wise and unbiased advice to all of you that, boss, do your research first, then go back and read research methodology books, because otherwise these books will only remain the set of theoretical metaphors to you and will not help you understanding what research exactly is. I mean, taste the sweet first and then go and ask to the sweet maker that how did you prepare it, and then probably you will be able to imagine what it's talking. You have not tasted the sweet and going and asking to the sweet maker that how you have made this sweet will yield no results to you. It will only confuse you more and not give you any right answer. I hope I have made it clear, right? So what are the common practice? Always work collaboratively, right? If you're doing your PhD, ask your guide, supervisor, and some of your colleagues whether you're doing it right. Always have some collaboration. If you are writing a research paper with fellow authors, make sure that all your authors are contributing to the research. None of them are just there for the namesake and the credit eating people are not there, right? You literally have people who are helping. Number two, make it KISS principle, right? So what is KISS principle? It is called keep it simple, stupid, right? As romantic it is written, is the same level of romance you have to put into your research. Research is all about your romanticism with the topic about which you are curious. The more romantic with it you are, the best research you will be able to produce. The moment you are more objective with this research, you will lose the essential fruits of doing the research. Third point is choose a method of administrating the survey. Your questionnaire should be based upon the method you are using, not the other way around, because even best of the research papers, questionnaires give you horrible results just because they have been administered wrongly. Let me give you an example. If I'm if I'm a researcher, I'm a senior researcher, and I have to collect some 2000 samples. So it is impossible for me to go to 2000 people and do the research, collect the sample. So I have said that, okay, my 20 student, 20 beloved students will go and collect 100 samples each of them, and they will come back to me. So here, the method of administrating the survey has changed from the researcher himself or herself going to the collection of data to the people who are less experienced, less exposed, and less sincere than the researcher himself or herself. That means that the 20 students have high chances that they will do some kind of biased judgment about the responses they are collecting. That is a problem. So have you understand the way it is? Second is, my questionnaire will be filled by the respondent himself or herself. So my respondent will read the question and will tick the answer. That is one method of administrating the survey. Another method is there will be a surveyor who is going and asking the question written in the questionnaire to the respondent. Respondent will answer something and then my surveyor will mark the response based upon whatever the person has answered. Here the chance is that your respondent is saying X and your surveyor is recording X minus Y or X plus Y or maybe A or maybe Z or hell lot of something else what the respondent is saying. The chances of adulterated response becomes very higher. That means what? Your questionnaire must be designed assuming that who is going to respond and how the responses are being collected and how this whole process of response collection will happen. Otherwise, you will miss the ultimate purpose of you doing the research. An important point, fourth point, pay attention. Repetition is good. Repetition is good. Can I say it again? Repetition is good. I have repeated it just to make it into a space in a brain that repetition is good. Why repetition is good? I am going to tell you. If you or if anyone of you have ever appeared in SSB Air Force Air Force SSB processes, right? It is a 4-day process. Just say yes if somebody has appeared in it, right? So there is in the SSB examinations on the third day there is a test called psychometry test. In the psychometry test, there is a particular test which is called PRT, that is WRT, that is called word reaction test. So in the screen you get just one word for 10 seconds, and then screen goes off, and another 30 seconds to write your response to that particular word. So what they do is they throw one word, easy word, it's not complex word, and you have to write a sentence by looking at that word. You can use that word, you cannot use that word, you may not use word, whatever, but the moment you see that word, it will be only visible for 10 seconds, and you will given another 30 seconds to write it, right? So this is how the test, and then this test has some 20 words throwing on you. So what is the logic behind it? So in fact, somebody was asking about the anxiety and stress in the question here. Please pay attention what I'm saying. So this entire 20 set of questions, there will be some words which will repeat, and the examiner will only read the response of those repeated words only. And these questions are very dichotomic. How it will happen? The first word will come happiness, the next word will come suicide, the third word will come flower, the fourth word will come stale, fifth word will come poison, then comes snake, then comes blood, then comes mistake, and then some question of them. So particularly this word mistake will be there repeated 3 times, and 40% of the weighing point will be invested into this particular question. And in 99% cases, the respondent will respond differently to this particular word called mistake in all the 3 times in the same test you're facing this. And the psychologist is only trying to gauge the emotional difference between all the 3 responses of the same word thrown to you in a sequence of some other words in just 15 minutes of the entire test. In that 15 minutes only, you will have 3 different responses to the same word mistake. The atmosphere did not change, the temperature of the room did not change, the light of the room did not change, your sitting position did not change, you have not received any SMS, you did not got broke up with your girlfriend right away in between answering these questions. No bad news has come to you, but just in 15 minutes you have given 3 different response to one word. This is what they are measuring, that how much emotionally consistent you are. Because when you're flying at 900 nautical miles, all they need is your emotional consistency, otherwise they will lose the war. So understand what I'm saying. Repetition is good because it exactly measures the respondent's ability to perfectly answer your questions. I don't know what I have done to you guys, but I'm assuming that I have done something good by answering you. Just say yes, no, if to help me know that you guys are listening. I'm not talking to my computer. I'm talking to some humans other side of the computer. Thank you, Parul. Screen. Oh yeah, there. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, you guys are listening. Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Tashin. Thank you, Poonam, Sunita. Oh yeah, so lovely guys. Thank you. Then screen respondents do not throw. So for example, I'm saying that, okay, I'm going to study the consumer behavior of chocolates. Everyone eats chocolate. Oh yes, everyone eats chocolate. People are crazy about the chocolate, or maybe the dark chocolate. I'm crazy about dark chocolate. But am I your respondent? Or maybe you have seen that, okay, your research is about, does the tooth illness has a direct relationship with eating chocolate? Okay, now your respondent will be more about the kids. Yes, then that means now your entire anybody who eats chocolate is my respondent. This reduced to the people, okay, the kids who eat lot of chocolates. So have you defined what do you mean by lot of chocolates? It's like eating 3 chocolates a day or 1 chocolates a week. Okay, 3 chocolates a day, further reduced. Okay, I'm talking about the chocolate, dipped chocolate, or like cookie chocolate, or what sweetness chocolate? Am I invested towards sweetness? Am I invested towards coca of the chocolates? What is that? Further reduce the funnel. That means perfectly screen the respondent exactly what you're trying to elevate. So not that anybody who is eating chocolate is your respondent. You got my point? So it is there. And then test the questionnaire. Test, test. The duty of a researcher is to doubt anything and everything. Have I heard this right? The duty of a researcher is to doubt anything and everything. Then only you will be able to. And when I say anything and everything, it means if you have created questionnaire, all created by you, doubt it whether it is right or wrong, and redesign it and redesign it and redesign it and perfect it, right? So there is a big writer who is saying that the art of writing is not a big deal. The art of rewriting is a big deal. Rewrite it as many times as it. A good author will always tell you that I was stupid yesterday to write this story. I'm a wiser today to write this story. I'll be more wiser tomorrow to write the same story. So this is how evolution of the thoughts happens in the brain. So always test it. Now let me go through the development process of the questionnaire. Number one is determine the objective resources and time constraint. Most importantly, friend, is time constraint. Everything can come back, not the time. Do you have time? How much you have? Based on that, you have to react to design your questionnaire. The single principal reason is that your questionnaire must fit into your time constraint. Everything else is redoable, not the time, right? So and this is the biggest challenge. And just in the age group we belong to, the biggest problem for us is having time. And that's why invest it absolutely carefully. I hope things are made clear to you guys. Right? So, yeah, so face to face, I have the step two is to identify which method are you doing it. In this fourth matter, I want to, so all three methods, yeah, either people are using method number one or people are using method number four. People are not using method number two and emails and other things. It has gone days, right? However, method number three is also a very good method, but I will again, the time constraint and resource constraint is a bigger thing we should worry about. With online survey, I want to understand there are disadvantages of online survey and focus on the disadvantage. Advantage, we all know, it is rapid, it is analysis is good, lot of typing work is recorded, lot of things are gone, it will saves a lot of time, and responses rate are very high. Yes, good, but the disadvantage is I am answering it. So if you are asking that, um, were you virgin before marriage, and if I'm answering the questions right beside my wife, what do you think will be my answer? Right, it will be biased. And if you're asking that, have you quit smoking, and right at the point of time I'm smoking, so it will be biased, the answer will be biased. Right, are you alcoholic, the answer will always be biased. Yes, it will be hustling, and the ppt will be available to you. The right, have you quit drinking, the answer will always be biased. Right, have you ever abused or your family members, the answer will always be biased. That means if you're asking something about my character, I will guarantee you that I will answer you wrong. So how will you ensure that I'm answering it right? Right, so by testing me in an observation method. So giving an example, that there was a person who has conducted the survey that are you honest? Everybody said that yes, we are honest. Then he said that, oh, then he thrown out some wallets having some money and an address card in that wallets, and thrown it randomly in the park, and he started observing people who have picked that pocket, that particular wallet, and how many wallets has gone to police station, how many wallets have been returned to the same address, and how many wallets have been returned to these places having the amount of money intact in it, is going to be the real significance of the fact that how many people are actually honest. So this is called experiment method and observation method. So survey method has a problem that the respondent has all the liberty of answering wrong, and if you can afford it, you can, right? The measurement error, right? You don't know the other side how much. So for example, if you're asking me that, have you ever been abused in your childhood? Oh yes, I've been abused, but I was not raped by anybody. I was not slaughtered by anybody. I was not done all. Or maybe I've been raped brutally in my childhood. But your question is saying that, have you been abused? I said yes. But how desperately want to am I want to explain my yes is not recorded in the measurement. So that can be an error. And then non-response biases. Non-response biases is like if you're saying that how much is your salary, and I don't want to tell you my salary. How much is your age? I don't want. Are you ill? Are you suffering from? I don't want to answer these questions. Again, are you feeling anxiety? Are you in mental depression? I don't want to answer these questions. And then my responses are right. Well, there will be no response. And then response rate, boss. I don't know. Like people are take infinite time to respond sometimes. Okay, so determine the question format is the third step, friends. Question, why it is important to determine the question format? Because if you're not determine the question format, then you will not be able to analyze it effectively, and then probably you have not given sufficient liberty to your respondent to answer you perfectly. Both ways, either you're recording it wrong or analyzing it wrong, and that's why in order to match this the gap, you have to have a right question format. There are some three question formats available. Now here I'm answering the question of a gentleman who has been asking this question. I think Dr. Somsekhar was asking this question. So here is that there are three way of the question. One is the dichotomous question. What is dichotomous question? There are dichotomy means that if A is true, then B is 100% wrong. That is called dichotomy. Dichotomy means only one can be true at the cost of other. So if it is a day, it cannot be a night, right? If I am lying, then I'm not truthful. It is a dichotomy. So if I'm saying that I'm truthfully lying to you, then yeah, two opposite question, Parul, rightly. So that is called dichotomy. I'm truthfully right. I'm truthfully answering you wrong is not a right sentence, right? So this is not a dichotomy, right? Multiple choice question MCQs in which you're giving multiple choices to the respondent, and this is very appropriate that you give multiple choices. And then scaled responses. Scaled responses is like, for example, do you like chocolate? I say, yeah, I like it, but I'm diabetic. Maybe I like it, but it's okay if I don't get it. I like it, but I can't live without it. Or I eat it daily. Or I must have to, if I think of chocolate, I have all the craving to eat it. Or I have multiple responses for this one question, that do you like a chocolate or not? That means your respondent must be given an options to measure the response in herself or himself and answer it. That is called a scale responsible, right? This is a scalar quantity, and this is vector quantity as well, this way or that way, right? So that is a scalar and vector responses question. There are three ways, right? So which one is the appropriate question format is something you have to choose very judiciously and wisely. Writing clear question, boss, always remember that your questionnaire is not a language test, right? And you're not there to prove that how good you know English language or a Hindi language, or how much big researcher you are, or have you won Nobel Award or not, right? So these are not the purpose of the questionnaire. The purpose of the questionnaire is let you successfully complete your research, and anything which is not letting you do it is hindrance. The first and foremost thing is the uses of complex words. And if you think that it is an English thing, then let me prove you wrong. In Hindi, I can tell you 20 words right away, out of which you will not be even knowing 10 to 15 of them, right? So it's not about which language you're born and which language you've been bought up with. So whether pilot questionnaire and actual questionnaire should be the same. Somsekharji, the fact is that the closest it is to the actual questionnaire, the least amount of efforts you will be building in further improving that questionnaire. So for example, let me answer it differently. For example, you have gone to the tailor and tailor is taking your measurement, should the tailor ask that, boss, am I making a sample dress for you, or it is the same dress you are going to wear when you are going to be the groom or bride of the wedding? Right? So it becomes this much irrelevant. So how can you answer to the tailor that, okay boss, this is a sample dress and actually I will wear different dress in my wedding? So you cannot say this. So in nutshell, I'm trying to answer the question is that your pilot survey should be closest to the, because the ultimate objective of you doing the pilot survey is to testify whether or not my survey is right. So if it is anything different from your actual survey, then probably you will take another lot of time to make your actual questionnaire survey. So rather than doing mitigate that time and illusionment and other troubles, you better make the same survey. So once the objective of doing the pilot survey is to find out whether my survey is perfect or not. And if there is some imperfection, I have to remove that imperfection. So naturally, if I'm testing the perfection of the thing I'm going to use later, then make it perfect right away so that you can use it as it is. I hope I answered Dr. Somshekar here. Okay, moving next, the designing the question flow, right? So the designing the question flow is in questionnaire, what is the validity of the questions prepared based upon personal interview and not on literature review? Okay, Dr. Somsekhar, I got a question, and let me try answering it. Why I'm saying try answering it? Because I have got the question, but whether it will fit into your assumption before asking the question or not is the remain to see. In in read, so you're saying that by doing the literature review, you will be having wider understanding upon exactly what you're trying to find out in your in the set of questions which you have prepared without in knowing the literature. So there can be three or four consequences, or maybe a lot more than but three main consequences are that whether you are asking the same questions a lot of researchers have already asked, and whether you're asking some set of questions which you will not be using in your hypothesis. You're again actually bringing the mountain home rather than bringing the Sanjeevani booty, or maybe you have missed Sanjeevani booty and you brought entire mountain home, and mountain has come to you, but Sanjeevani booty did not come. So you got my point. Like, then you may miss the bus. The whole point is that, and for that reason, I will always recommend that do not do any research without sufficient literature review. So that is my message. Suppose if the literature availability is less, Dr. Shamsekhar, disagree with this notion, right? There is always a literature. So for example, if you're asking me that how to make ice cream, and then you say that, okay, there is no sufficient how to make chocolate, garlic, multiple Ayurvedic ice cream, then probably to make an Ayurvedic healthy ice cream, nobody have made Ayurvedic healthy ice cream. And then you say that, okay, there is no sufficient literature available for making making a what to say Ayurvedic ice cream. But then there are a lot of literature available for the Ayurvedic a lot of literature available for making the ice cream. So that is by when I say literature review, I would literature for disintegrated pieces of information and then try to bias your scope, right? So I think I have sufficiently answered you, Dr. Somshekar, that literature of exactly what you're doing may not be available, but disintegration of the literatures are always available. Human beings have been doing research from thousands of years, so it is that way around, right? So please try and understand that. Next is okay. Yeah, I think so. The question flow, I'm saying the question flow should comfort your respondent. Your respondent must feel happy and engaging with your questionnaire. And in order to do that, everybody in the world wants information, right? If you're traveling to somewhere, you will be having a question. Will it be safe to go by bus? Will it be safe to sit in the chair with this? Will I be able to comfortably reach there? Will there be no accidents? So you have a lot of questions before boarding to a bus to a particular destination. Even if You're not asking anything about the destination but the bus. So everybody wants information, and that is why all the railway stations and bus stops, happy journey, take care of this, don't get the victim of thief, there is a stall, there is a veggery happening, there these things happen. So, and these informations help you make up your mind that, okay boss, I'm vulnerable at the time I'm traveling, so I'll be safe. That means everybody needs information about your research. Nobody is going to answer you if you're not satisfying their craving of information. That's why the first part of your questionnaire is to give sufficient information that you're doing it for academic purpose. We are not going to misuse your data, we are not going to sell your data. You are rightful of not answering these questions, you can do that, you can. So these are some information which will comfort your respondent that, okay boss, I'm not going to be the victim here, I'm actually adding to somebody's knowledge. That is the information. Then initial question is about screening the respondent whether he is the right person, right respondent for you. Then you warm up the questions. At the fourth level of the questionnaire is evaluate the confidence of the respondent. Confidence of the respondent in every next question the respondent is engaging with, right? And then last is saying the farewell. Even that 15 minutes of answering the question, the respondent has built a relationship with you. Bid farewell to that relationship. These are the wonderful. The farewell can, okay, if you want to know the summary of it, okay, if you thank you very much, if you want to be remain in contact, okay, if you want to be notified and identified. So these are some of the things that you have to answer it here, right friends? So I'll be a little quicker now. So questionnaire, is the questions necessary? Important is that do not answer ambiguous questions. Is the question too long? Yep. So question, do not make too long questionnaire. Understand and respect the time of everyone. And the third point is, will the questionnaire provide all the needed information for you as a researcher? These are the three questions you have to keep in mind when you are actually protect the privacy of your respondent. That is the seventh point. Eighth point is pre-test and revise the questionnaire, right? Always do the mock drill. Always do the mock drill. That is pilot survey that we've been talking about. Next step is that prepare the final questionnaire copy and layout. Groom it, glow it, adorn it, equip it, and design it in so that it engages people more rather than distracts them. Right, friend. And the last point is that what are the failed questionnaire, right? The researcher, so there are failed, terribly failed questionnaires. There have been terribly failed questionnaire, right? So what is the terribly failed questionnaire example is that I have asked anything and everything, but did not ask you the exact hypothesis I was intending to make. That these are the failed questionnaire. The researcher gives field services firm instructions on how to conduct the survey, but doesn't, nobody follows that. The instructions are placed in a written document called supervisor instruction explaining, right? Sorry. So I'm talking about the field survey, not the failed survey. That is another part of it. So field survey is that if you respond, if you somebody else is taking the responses, the person has to have a complete knowledge about how the survey has to administered. And importantly, the surveyor should not know the end objective of that responses. Why I'm saying it? Because if you will tell your surveyor the end objective of this survey, the surveyor will start adulterating the answers for you to meet your research objective, and that will be a disaster. That means you're not collecting the unbiased responses, but actually you're collecting the garbage, which is only strengthening your assumptions, prejudices, and biases. That will be catastrophic for you as a researcher. So do not tell the end objective of the research to the surveyor, but tell them everything they want to know in order to minimize the disasters they are going to make at the time of collection survey. And it will not happen one time. You have to check them repeatedly and re-instruct them repeatedly, refine them repeatedly. Right, gentlemen and gentle ladies, thank you very much for listening. And I am Jitendra Rajaram. You can go to jrajaram.com to fix interview appointment with me and talk to me separately. You can go to Persec Research and do that. You can go to my colleagues who are here, and you can ask any amount of questions separately. Here also, I will request that if you can ask the question. So Xavier, here I have a question. If we construct a knowledge questionnaire, is the item discrimination your email ID, please? Okay, my email ID, you can go to jrajaram.com, jrajaram.com. You will get it there. Another email ID is office, office at the rate of jrajaram, jrajaram.com. Right, so you can get it there also. Both are the ways you can do it. Sunita, thank you very much for asking this. I was reading Xavier's question. If we construct a knowledge questionnaire, is item discrimination and item difficulty are enough for item analysis, or need to do a factor analysis? Which are the most suitable ways to certain validity and reliability of the questionnaire? Xavier, your question have too many assumptions. I hope if you can speak with me separately, it will be very lovely to. I will love to answer your questions, Xavier. But here it will take a lot of others' attentions uh, to the things. And the question, I have a lot of assumptions here. So please let me know separately. I will love to answer your question. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Tashin. Thank you, Sunita. Thank you, Harshin, for your responses. It has been lovely talking to all of you. Over to you, Riddhi. I hope I did justice to the things.
Thank you so much, sir. You have not only done justice, but you have mesmerized students and participants with your vast knowledge, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Participants, before we